Everybody, we are back. It is Taped Online's favorite podcast, favorite channel, favorite everything. You guys already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you don't like it. Also follow us on Twitter at DMarkJohnNFL for me and at MHolder95 for Matt. Also use Panda Supplements TDL for 35% off. All right, guys. So today we are covering the 54-man reaction, or we can say it's 53, but we got 54 guys in this team. Josh Jacobs made that happen, I guess. But we got 54 guys on the Raiders as of now, and some surprises that kind of shocked me a little bit. But we're gonna go over that
trade.
The interdivision trade. So what we're going to do, we're going to go position by position. We're going to talk about the positions, who made the team, and then who didn't, and kind of go over there, kind of compare our projections a little bit to the positions. So kind of go deep in depth into that. I don't know really what else to say because, some of the guys, I called it. Just when I watched the special teams film, I wasn't surprised by some of it, but it's going to be interesting to see who they add, who they cut, who they bring back, and all that good stuff. But yeah, we do as a channel. I guess we could do this now. We can celebrate Alex Bars.
Congrats to us.
Whatever Josh McDaniels did before that. I really appreciate this. I know he dumped my boy John Simpson, who's actually the starting left guard for the Ravens, which I thought was interesting. But Alex Bars is gone, so we feel pretty happy right there.
We officially bullied Alex Bars off the roster. All credit to us.
we did. I feel like I'm a part of that. I feel like that maybe Josh McDaniels watched this and he just took our wishes. Like, man, just don't Alex Bars, bro. Like it just Let's make sure Jimmy doesn't freak out a little bit. All right, so let's do this. Let's just start. Let's just get over this. Get on these positions here, and then we can get to these questions a little bit. So let's start at quarterback. Of course, quarterbacks, no surprises. We got Jimmy Garoppolo, we got Brian Hoyer, and we got Aiden O'Connell. So there's really no surprises there. Of course, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter. Yeah. He's going to, until he either, plays really bad or gets injured. So we'll see. Hopefully he can stay upright, and I think he can get the ball to some of these guys and play point guard. But he's the starter. I really don't like Brian Hoyer behind him, because if Jimmy Garoppolo does get hurt, we're going to see some Brian Hoyer, and I'm not really happy about that. The love that they stick with Brian Hoyer, hopefully maybe they get traded to the Patriots. Patriots ain't got no QBs; they only got one.
Wait, they only have one quarterback right now?
They only got one quarterback right now. They cut all the quarterbacks. They cut Bailey Zappi, bro. They cut everybody over there.
Oh, that's right. Did Cunningham make the team?
No, he got cut too, man.
Jesus. Damn.
Right? So, Brian Hoyer has a place to go. I'm just saying, so maybe they want to work that out. I don't know what their plan is, but I think they keep Brian Hoyer because they really like him. But Aiden O'Connell, he made the team, of course. So they kept 3 quarterbacks, which, you could argue, should you do that? But these days, with the, what happened to the 49ers, you're going to need 3 quarterbacks. So it did make it happen over there with those guys. Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, and part of it too is like the new rule that they this actually kind of flew under my radar until I saw someone else talking about it, where like they brought back like the emergency quarterback rule. But the caveat is that like that third quarterback has to be on the active roster. So I think that's the overarching factor. And the other thing I was listening to State of the Nation from the Athletic too. And like they were talking about basically like, and I can see where they're coming from this, is like they don't want, if Jimmy Garoppolo does get hurt, they don't want to just throw Aiden O'Connell into a calamity situation where he's like in the middle of a game, whereas they'd be more comfortable with a veteran guy like Brian Hoyer, which I can kind of understand. But again, you've heard us talk about Brian Hoyer. He's our new Alex Bars. He's our new target, right? But yeah, it's so it's like I can kind of see where they're coming from with keeping 3 quarterbacks. You want to take advantage of that rule. You don't want a disaster to happen, especially with a quarterback who is kind of in a way part of that, the reason the new rule exists. But yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. It makes sense. When I went over the film of Brian Hoyer, like I was like, oh man, they're gonna keep him, even though how bad I didn't think it looked. I just saw him like go through the progressions of the offense and do all those things that I'm sure when they went through the QB room, they're like, oh, look at Brian. Look at Brian. What if Brian did this? And, Aiden, you can learn, whatever. So I kind of, it made sense for me for them to keep him. But, I really hope that, they think about it a little bit. Let's say if Jimmy Garoppolo does get hurt, because, that is a factor in this whole season, right? You talk about Jimmy Garoppolo and what he can do or what he could do for the offense, but his main issue is injuries, right? So if he gets injured, how does Josh McDaniels handle that? And I think that's going to be interesting. Like, Brian Hoyer can come in, but does he start Aiden the next week? I don't know. But maybe, probably not. We're going to get at least 2 games of Brian Hoyer before we see Aiden.
Yeah, no. I hear you. Hopefully it's 2 games of hopefully it's 2 starts of Aiden O'Connell instead, and Brian Hoyer coming in and mop up duty at the best case scenario here. But
that's not gonna happen, man. We're getting at least if Jimmy Garoppolo goes down, we're getting 2 games of Brian Hoyer, unless Brian Hoyer does the same thing he did with the Packers against the Packers, is last like a series, and then he gets hurt too. So
I tell you what, then for those 2 games, you'll take the offensive breakdowns on their corresponding episode.
I got those, bro. I got it. All right, man. All right, so let's get to running backs here. They only kept 4. Usually in these style systems, they keep 5, but they decided to keep 4 this year, mostly because I think Brent Brown got hurt and they put him in injured reserve.
Yeah.
So, but running back, the room behind Jacobs isn't very sexy. Let's just say that we got Zamir White, Brandon Bolden, Amir Abdullah. So, it really feels like
they gave Jacobs $2 million to come back and make sure he shows up. Let's put it that way.
To me, it's super interesting. After the Cowboys game and Zamir White had like no yards or anything like that, Josh Jacobs got some money, right? He got a little boost in pay. He got some Nick Chubb money right after that game because you have Zamir White out there with the backups and you got Damian Williams, who they probably planned on cutting from the beginning, even though it doesn't matter how he played. They had a plan on cutting him, obviously. So he went out there and just made Zamir White look crazy. And they're like, okay, so we got to pay Josh Jacobs because they got to feed him, man. They got to feed him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does because just the 340 carries curse is going to follow him a little bit. But, we'll see.
I mean, they'll split the load, I think, a little bit. Like, at least he's coming into the season fresh. We know that for sure. Hasn't taken a hit in about a few months. So, but I mean, I think it'll be a big year for Zamir White, regardless to get progress. I feel like no matter what was going to happen with Jacobs, Zamir White was going to get more touches than he did last year. I still feel like they'll try and at least ease him along, or at least see what they've got in him. But yeah, like you said, outside of Jacobs, not exactly the sexiest group. Abdullah, I do like Abdullah as a third down back. He was good in that role last year. Special teams guy. Captain.
Because it's gonna be interesting because Josh McDaniels was talking like, oh, we might not be able to give Jacobs all those carries, right? And they signed him really early because now he's got 2 weeks of practice ready to go, right?
Yeah.
So he can kind of get back in shape and kind of be the workhorse back, which I hope he can hold up. What worries me about him being a workhorse back is just the history of it. And, you see what Jonathan Taylor's going through, right? Because Jonathan Taylor had more than 340 carries, and then he had a huge fall off the next year, and now he's trying to get paid. I hope that doesn't happen to Jacobs. I hope that he can just break through that. He is younger. So that's my kind of hope for this season is because they need him. They need him to have a big year for sure.
And Taylor battled injuries last year, too, if I remember correctly, right?
He did, man. Yeah. I did a study on it. Over 340 carries, they all missed 5 games. So all of them.
5?
Yeah, they all missed 5 games. All of them. The next year. And he had 393 touches. So that's why I'm trying to like throw that away. But
damn. Yeah. I think either way, we're gonna probably see a good amount of Zamir White this year. At some point then.
Yeah,
find out what they got.
Well, or let's hope that I'm just terrible at this.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. And none of those guys were 25. That's what we have to hope. Even though Jonathan Taylor was, but it doesn't matter. We'll ignore Jonathan Taylor and hope that happens with Josh Jacobs. So, but yeah, man, we need that. Just stay healthy. Stay healthy, Josh. We need you for sure.
Yes. please.
All right, so let's go to wide receiver. I think wide receiver is when we start to get into the interesting part of this, because a guy made it that maybe we talked about the other day who we didn't think was going to make it, right?
No.
Which is Christian Wilkerson, who they chose over Philip Dorsett, right? And who else did they choose over that? Cam Simpson.
Cam Sims, but yeah, I mean, and Wilkerson outplayed him in the Cam Sims in the preseason. Like, it wasn't much close.
For sure.
I mean,
so
what I think,
go ahead.
How I think Wilkerson made this roster is honestly his run blocking. Like, there was a few plays, like I remember when they were running those pin and pull concepts where I'm like, oh damn, he actually kind of stood out. Was like physical, and I feel like outside of Devontae, he's probably pretty comparable, like size wise. That it's like he's like the next big guy. Like, I feel like him and Devontae are probably about the same size, and like all the other guys are like real low guys. Like Jacoby Myers is 6 feet, but he's skinny. Like, he's like 175, something like that. Ramco's little guy. So same with Carter and Tucker. So he brings something different. Whereas I feel like Dorsett, like as fast as he was and as good of a deep threat as he was, that you kind of get that already with Carter and Tucker. So maybe became a little redundant. And then again, the run blocking big for Wilkerson. Plus the guy had 122 in the last preseason game. So put some respect on his name, man.
Yeah, he definitely went off the last preseason game. He didn't definitely have the drop issues that he had in some of the earlier games. Just looking at this room, man, this is very slot heavy. When I look at this, because DeAndre Carter, he's a slot. Jacoby Myers, I mean, he's a little bit of a hybrid, but he's better in the slot. Yeah. Hunter Renfrow is a slot. And then Trey Tucker, they had him playing outside all preseason, but I don't know if that's going to work out. So I don't know what their plan is with him. Because he literally was playing, he didn't play in the slot in the preseason. He played outside mostly. Like, he was running a lot of the routes you would expect Devontae Adams to run. So I don't know what their plan is for him. Maybe he's supposed to be the outside guy. Maybe they expect him to run the post routes and stuff like that. I don't know. But it's good to see how that dynamic works. And that's maybe why DeAndre Carter is on this team, because they expect him to be the backup slot to Hunter Renfrow.
Well, I think that and him as being a kick returner and punt returner. Again, special teams, but yeah, I think you're right. Like, he can be the backup. He's definitely the most proven veteran of the backups as a slot receiver. So, and I mean, he barely played in the preseason. Like, I remember we were talking about it after the Niners game. Like, he didn't even suit up. Like, he was like on the team already, which I thought was a little bit interesting especially when you consider that Dorsett was. So, I feel like it's definitely Carter is the wide receiver 4 going into the year. At least all signs are pointing to that. Yeah,
all signs are pointing to that he's going to be that guy that they kind of mix around and play a little bit early. So it's probably getting Myers and Adams out there on first down, right? And then, Renfrow coming in on third down, or 11 personnel, and DeAndre Carter kind of mixing in there. And it'll be interesting to see how Trey Tucker is used, because in college, he was a slot receiver. That's all he did. But he played outside all preseason, so I think that's maybe where they're fitting him in. I think this is an interesting, like, draft kind of evaluation. Like, you watched him through college, you're like, you know what? He could maybe play outside. And I think he struggled to, like, separate a little bit. So, like, on comebacks and stuff, like, not on deep routes, but like comebacks and things like that. Yeah. So I think that was an interesting kind of way to play him. But, I think the main guys, you got Devontae, you got Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfrow. That's a damn good wide receiver room, no matter how you look at it. So
that's gonna be one of the league's best, like, trios for sure. I feel like maybe the Cowboys probably got a better one, but Michael Gallup's hurt every other week, so it's really more like a duo between Liam and Cooks. But definitely, the Raiders definitely have a pretty good core of receivers right there.
Yeah, man. You just gotta move Adams around, man. Gotta keep him happy. Gotta feed him. You need them targets, man. You need them targets to Adams. Make it happen. Get him the damn ball. That's what Josh McDaniels, his whole thought process this whole year is, how do I get Devontae Adams the ball more? We'll see if he does that. We'll see, because I still think it's gonna be a lot of Jacoby Myers and Hunter Renfrow getting the ball too. So it's gonna be interesting to see how those guys move around. All right, so we still haven't got to any surprises yet, because most of the surprises come at like the other positions. But tight end, he has some surprises for me. I thought OJ Howard was going to make this team, so that was my huge mistake from the jump. He got cut early. He didn't make it to like a week of camp. Did he make it to camp? I don't think he did.
He was in camp, but it was like pretty quick. I feel like he probably showed up out of shape or something like that, and probably didn't have a great OTAs and mini camp. So yeah, because he was one of the first guys out the door.
Yeah, one of them. All right, so Austin Hooper made the team. Austin Hooper, he didn't play too much in the preseason, but he definitely made the football team. Of course, Michael Mayer, and then Jesper Horsted. He's staying around. Jesper Horsted is working out. Go ahead.
I feel like Horsted got lucky, because he got injured, missed like a good chunk of camp. Played in, I think he played in both, but sparingly. But no one else, like Fotheringham had that huge game against the Niners. We broke it down. A lot of it was kind of poor linebacker play from the Niners.
Yeah,
and then he literally, I don't even think how to catch the rest of the other two games. And so it kind of feels to me, it felt like Horsted made it on default. No one else was really stepping up as a blocker. They were playing that John Samuel Snenker, the dude from Auburn, at fullback more than they were at tight end. It feels like Jesper Horsted, he's got a golden horseshoe somewhere, because he, again, not a lot of the guys that got cut missed a lot of time in camp, and he's one of the few outliers that did and managed to survive on the roster. But
yeah, because that's my problem with the tight end position, is that they don't have a blocking tight end. They don't have any guys that we're oh my God, that guy can block. Because even Michael Mayer, I mean, you've been posting some clips of him. Some of the film I watched a little bit, he is not picking up blocking in the NFL right now. He's struggling, right?
By his own admission.
Yeah, right. And so if you put him out there on first down on running plays, I think right now, just as a player right now, I'm not saying he can't grow and become a better blocker. He's a little bit of a liability, right? So who do you mix in there? And Austin Hooper, he can block okay, but he's not known for being a blocker either. He was more of a move tight end. So he doesn't have anybody that's going to come in and kind of take that spot. So it's going to be, yeah. I mean, Michael Mayer, he's going to be a great receiver. Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, we were talking about it before the show. I think it's going to be Jacob Johnson. He was talking about earlier in the camp, he was taking reps at tight end, how he needs to. And again, like you said, they don't have a blocking tight end. Austin Hooper is probably their best blocking tight end right now on the team. And like you just said, he's not even a great of one. I feel like they're gonna rely on Johnson for a little bit more, get him some more reps. And I mean, they got to figure out a way to keep defenses honest a little bit and find a few passes that they can dump to him in the flats, maybe a little bit. He doesn't have any rushing stats, but he does have a few catches. I think he had 2 or 3 last year. So yeah, I think it's probably going to be Johnson for the time being, unless they get someone else here in the next few days to come fill that role.
Yeah, I just hope we stop hearing about 12 personnel with this team, because I hate people ask me about 12 personnel with this team. They don't run 12 personnel. Okay, so can we stop asking me that? They have 3 tight ends. We're not going to, because you have more tight ends. You have, teams that run 12 personnel, they have 4 or 5. Let's keep it real, because that's how they mix it up, right? We're going to see a lot of 21. We're going to see a lot of this, Johnson out on the field and 1 tight end. That's what I was talking about. Mayer's going to be out there. Hopefully he can find a way to block better. So, yeah, man. All right, let's keep it moving.
He's got a lot of work to go. Let me put it
all right, we're hitting the offensive line now. Okay, so we got the offensive line, which I think is interesting. All right, so we got 3 tackles. We're going to count Illuminor as a tackle, even though he's listed as a guard and a tackle.
4 then.
So 4 tackles, right? 4 tackles. Yeah, 4 tackles. We got Thayer Mumford, Colton Miller, Justin Herron, which I don't know how the hell he made the team, and Jermaine Illuminor. So what do you think of this group, Matt? Besides Herron, I still can't figure out what they see, but
I felt like with Herron, he had a couple bad reps, but for the most part, he was good. I feel like he's a good 4th tackle, which is a guy that you hope never plays on your team. I don't think he's not going to be the swing tackle. That's going to be whoever loses the battle between Illuminor and Munford. But I felt like he was all right. I think it's probably their best group it was their deepest group on the offensive line, but it literally is, because that's who they have the most people at. But I feel like it's a decent crew to keep the 4 around. When I was doing projections, I thought Herron was solid for what he was, and I was actually having a hard time figuring out if I can keep Dalton Wagner was going to make the team. He ends up getting put on IR. I guess he got hurt in the last game or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's a solid group. I mean, we know Colton Miller, who he is. You got the emerging guy in Thayer Munford, and then Illuminor is coming off a career year. Like, solid group for you. I think it's a lot better at this point, or a lot better this year than it was at this point last year. So I like it.
Yeah. The tackle group I think is pretty strong. I think Mumford took a big step in the preseason. Some of his reps, Illuminar, you know what you're to get. He's a steady guy, and then of course Colton Miller, he's turned himself into a special player. I think he's a top 10 tackle in the NFL. So I think having that type of foundation where you could put Mumford in, and maybe mix it in with Illuminor. Hopefully, we don't start the season with those guys rotating. Hopefully we don't. I'm scared of that. Hopefully they figure that out. Hopefully those guys aren't rotating. So
yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for. No rotations. Pick a guy and let these guys go. Koji here, he did have a good mention here. Mumford is the blocking tight end, which could be true. Could be true. Could be Mumford. Could be.
Yeah, but then you have the same problem, only worse, with having Johnson there, where if Mumford's at tight end, there's a pretty good chance the defense is going to figure out what the play call is.
We're running the ball, right?
Yeah.
We're running the ball. Or we're doing a 2-man route play action. 2-man route play action.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, maybe I stand corrected.
2-man route play action is there. So hopefully we don't have a rotation. Hopefully they just put Illuminor out there and kind of stick him out there until he doesn't play well. If that's who they pick. They pick Mumford to go out there and start, because they really haven't told us who won that battle, right? They haven't really decided or shown us who won that battle. We're going to find out probably week 1, like before the game when they're lined up in practice, kind of going over the reps. So it's going to be see how those guys kind of fit in there. But I hope they don't do a rotation and they just pick a guy and just go forward with the season, because I think that's going to be important. But I still don't know how Haran made this team. But I get it, because I guess Wagner got hurt and they needed a 4th tackle. And maybe they'll search for some tackles that made it. But, man, I don't know. He didn't have a good film to me. I was kind of shocked by that. But he's a Patriots guy. They like him.
And they traded for him, right? Here's the guy they traded for, right?
Yeah, they did trade for him. You're right about that. All right, so guard and center. So Andre James is the only center on the team, besides probably Dylan Parham. They probably expect Dylan Parham.
Meredith plays center too.
Does he? Okay. So they got some rotation guys.
Meredith might be listed as a center, but I mean, yeah.
So the shocking one of the guards, Greg Van Roten. He's obviously the starting right guard, which I was expecting that, because he's I don't know, he has 55 starts in the NFL. I don't see how somebody could come in there and beat him out, really, and there's really no competition from that aspect, because he is a solid NFL guard at this point. I mean, maybe not the best NFL guard. You probably say he's average, but having 55 starts, I think it's a big deal, especially with, you got to protect Jimmy Garoppolo. Dylan Parham, I hope he's okay, because he's been missing the last couple of games. He hasn't really practiced. He's had a concussion. So, I mean, we haven't really talked about that. Hopefully he's ready to come back. But Jordan Meredith made the team, man. What do you think about that?
I kind of felt like it was going to happen. I think I actually had him on my 53-man projection. I think I had him safe after the Rams game. The one thing that sold me on him and why I was really thinking he was going to make it is I think it might have been in that game specifically, or it was just the totality of the preseason. He took snaps at both guard spots and center. So he can be like your backup interior offensive lineman if anyone goes down. So yeah, I mean, I thought like his last game was probably the worst. I think he got beat on at least one run play. I think there might have been 2, and got called for a penalty too, which obviously killed his night for him. But yeah, I thought he played pretty well in the preseason. He was a guy that kind of caught me by surprise, and why I was not shocked when Alex Bars got cut.
Yeah, I thought Meredith had a chance to make this team too, because I thought he played pretty well the first 2 weeks. I thought he had some good reps the first 2 weeks, and he looked pretty solid. And I was like, you know what? He has a chance to make this team over Alex Bars. I thought there was a shot there. But, he looked solid. He looked like a pretty good guard who could, kind of develop. He's only a second-year player, I believe. So, if he can keep developing his game and work it out, I mean, he could maybe kind of be that type of backup depth guard that you need, because, Van Roten, he's a little older player. Maybe something happens to him. They got to work it out. I do feel a little uncomfortable with the depth here a little bit. It makes me a little uncomfortable if somebody got injured, but especially at center, right? Because go ahead.
Well, the good news is Munford and Illuminor can both play guard.
Yeah,
which helps, and Parham can play some center too.
Yeah, so they might have to move guys around if somebody got hurt. So, man, it does. I like them taking Van Roden. I was really hoping when they signed him, I was like, yes, okay, we're gonna have an actual starting right guard. That was my hope, man, and they did it. So I appreciate that. But besides that, I do think it's kind of a little bit of a depth issue here, but we'll hopefully they think they can mix guys around. That's where they got Lunar at guard and tackle, and they can mix things and maybe put him for the guard, whatever they need to do. They'll mix it up, but we'll see how that goes. But hopefully, Van Roden has a good year, and he just kind of does this little solid average guard thing. I think that would work out.
Yeah. And I think too, to help with the depth, I think they'll probably try and bring Muti back on the practice squad if he's willing to come back, and if they can bring him back. So they'll at least have someone, that's not on the active roster, but they can call up pretty easily if in a pinch.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Let's get to the defensive side of the ball, where I feel like all the surprises are, especially on the defensive line. So let's start there. We're gonna start at the defensive line. So defensive tackle is the first one. Adam Butler, John Jenkins, Bilal Nichols, Nesta J. Silvera, Jerry Tillery, and Byron Young. So the only person I had was Neil Farrell over Nesta, which we'll talk about the Neil Farrell trade first. So Neil Farrell is gone. He is the 4th round pick. He was traded to Kansas City, which I think is crazy. You just can trade him in the division. That just means you don't think he's good at all, in my opinion. If you trade somebody in division, you don't think he's good. That's just
Not only that, you trade a guy that has 3 years left on his rookie deal in the division. That I kind of go when I saw he got traded, part of me went back to again, I know I keep bringing this up and it's all speculative. When he was the healthy scratch last year for, I forget the language McDaniels used, but basically a disciplinary issue. He didn't really get playing time. Shows up to camp and ends up getting put on the NFI, which means he got injured away from the team facilities. Part of me feels like the coaching staff just kind of had their way with it, or had enough with him.
Mm-hmm.
There may have been something there where it was he just wasn't gelling, and that's part of why they wanted to dump him. But it's not like he was playing lights out anyway.
Yeah,
it was definitely a big surprise. Not only to see them trade him, but to see him trade him to literally their biggest rival. I don't know. I don't know the history that well, but it's got to be one of the few Raiders-Chiefs trades in the history.
I don't think I've ever seen a Raiders-Chiefs trade in my life. I feel like that's just something I don't even know if I've seen a Raiders Broncos trade or a Raiders. I've never seen the Raiders trade in division.
Interdivision trades, I feel like that's even just in sports, you never really see that in the NBA. You might see it in baseball with a team that's at the trade deadline at the bottom of the barrel, and they just send a guy to one of their teams in the division that's actually got a contending chance. But yeah, it's not that's very rare, not only in NFL, but just in professional sports in general. So again, like you said, speaks to what they thought of him, and the fact that they were willing to say this guy that was a 4th round pick, sure, we'll take him for a 6th rounder. Yeah, he wasn't making the team.
Yeah, he wasn't making the team. And I think Nesta outplayed him in practice. And I think that was kind of the thing when he outplayed him in practice. They kind of kept it there and didn't bring it into the game. So I think Nesta didn't play as well in the games as I guess he did in practice to kind of catch everybody's eye. But the last game, though, I thought he played really well against the Cowboys. So the practice kind of matched into that game because I thought it was his best game. He got a lot of pressure. He had some little highlights. He was running guys over and, kind of pushing things around and making some, chaos as a pass rusher. And I think that's kind of what put him over. Okay, Neil Farrell doesn't give me anything as a pass rusher. Yeah. But Nesta, maybe there's something there as a nose, which he primarily played. He played inside one technique, maybe played a zero, but he kind of played that one inside shade right out of the center, right? And once he kind of started showing some pass rush skills, it was over, I think, for Neil. They're what are we doing? So, and I guess it was Willie Brown got traded, but it still was in the 60s. Did Marcus Allen get traded to the They didn't trade Marcus Allen. They just let him go, right? Marcus Allen was just being an asshole. He got let go.
Yeah, because him and Al were not exactly best of friends when
Al Davis tried to ruin his career, bro. What do you mean that they were best of friends? He drafted Bo Jackson. Yeah. Said you're playing fullback.
And then brought in after Bo broke his hip, brought in Eric Dickerson, or was Dickerson already on the team?
No, he brought it. Yeah, you're right. He brought in Eric Dickerson afterwards, after Bo got hurt. Then signed Eric Dickerson and kept him at fullback. So yeah, so he fought through a lot.
You never cross Al, man. Al was a spiteful dude.
You can't be bigger than the Raiders, Matt. That's the thing. That was the rule. All right, so we get sidetracked here. All right, so who else? Jerry Tillery. I'm not a Jerry Tillery fan. Everybody knows it. So hopefully Nesta kind of just leapfrog over him. Let's just hope. I was hoping him and Brian Young just leapfrog over Jerry Tillery. That's what I'm hoping there. Adam Butler. I thought he would make the team just because he has familiarity, but he has some nice rushes this preseason. But I think he's just kind of a little bit older guy. He's 29, year 5. That's kind of old. And then John Jenkins, Bilal Nichols. Brian Young didn't really show too much in the preseason. Did you see anything from the preseason from him that you thought that impressed you, or?
Not really. He didn't. He had a few reps that like he had one where I was doing my Tyree Wilson breakdown where he kind of just held up at the point of attack. It wasn't a necessarily impressive play, but he did hold his ground a little bit and let Tyree Wilson make the tackle. But kind of just a meh, not a whole lot bad, not a whole lot good. Also started injured, which probably didn't help him. So
yeah, that's true. I thought he had a couple good reps against the Cowboys that I saw. He had they were getting rid of the ball quick versus the Cowboys, but I thought he had a couple good pass rush reps. But my thing always with Brian Young is that he was just a guy at Alabama, so I don't know why I expect him to kind of just be this superstar in the NFL. In Alabama, he's just a guy. He's just a solid guy that did your job, and
I think it was his last year at Alabama, he showed a little bit more athleticism, not blow your the charts off or anything like that, but he showed enough quickness that you could be okay, the first few years at Bama playing behind a ton of talent because they always have 8 defensive tackles that get drafted every single year or whatever it is. And then so I think you could justify it as he probably just didn't get much playing time when he was there at the beginning and he's shown growth. But yeah, he was kind of just a guy out there in the preseason, kind of just what we saw from him, like you said, at Bama, just another guy out there.
Yeah, they only kept 9 defensive linemen this year because we moved the defensive end. That's pretty interesting.
They got 10.
They got 10. Do they have 10? Do they have 6? Oh, they have 6 defensive tackles. I can't
60 tackles and then the 4 ends.
Yeah, I can't.
Struggling over there, bro.
I am, bro. I'm struggling to count, man. All right. So defense ed, of course, Max, monster. I mean, we talk about Chandler Jones, of course. Now the big one is what we thought wouldn't happen to start off in our 53-man projection was Jordan Willis getting cut for Malcolm Kuntz. Of course, I
found you called that one. I was on the opposite end. You nailed it.
I found out that Kuntz plays special teams. This is oh, you're a special teams guy. Wow, Jordan Willis, he has a chance to get cut just because of that. But Kuntz had a great preseason though. I'm not gonna knock him for that or try to get on him about that. What he used to do, his past. He had a great preseason. He did. He looked pretty as probably best defensive lineman playing in preseason, in my opinion. Just consistent pass rush, of course, against the run. He's just, he is what he is. But consistent pass rush, I think it's there where you can work something with him that he can start to learn how to finish a little bit and he can get to the quarterback. You saw feel like he's more in shape. He's bending a little bit better. But of course, he plays special teams and he plays kickoff, he plays punt return, he plays punt block. He's out there. So that's a big reason why he made this football team.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought he could be a good third down rusher. He just got to get better against the run. I don't know. I mean, curious how you felt about him in that part of his game. Cause I don't know. I kind of was left a little bit something to be desired in that part, but
yeah, it's still not, he's not great there. I mean, I don't think he ever will be at this point. I mean, if you haven't developed, he hasn't got strong enough. So it'll be interesting to see how he does it. I mean, when he's not blocked, I mean, plays pretty good. Like if he's playing like a little linebacker or something, mixing it up like it's the '90s, and then pass rush on third down. But
but I love that. Like we're talking about his run defense. Like, well, he's not blocked.
I'm just saying. I mean, he's not blocked. I mean, he's not bad, but pretty good at reading it. But when he is blocked, it's not. It doesn't work out. It just doesn't. It doesn't. So they kept him. So obviously the rotation, probably the main rotation, is Tyree, Chandler Jones, Max Crosby, Tyree Wilson's film. We'll talk about Tyree a little bit. I thought his film was pretty good. I think he's kind of just dependent on the bull rush right now, but you see he's going to be able to move some guys around there. He's not going to be able to get moved by a lot of tackles. He's just too damn big. He's too damn strong. It's pretty crazy to kind of look at him out there. He still looks like he did in college compared to the other guys. I thought, like, man, he's just a massive guy in college. But no, he's massive in the NFL too. So
that's what I was going to say. Like, I don't know. Maybe he is just a massive monster, but I felt like he looked a little bit bigger than he was in college. Like, I'm like, did he get up to like 285? Maybe they're trying to play him inside a little bit because he looked like a monster out there. And I mean, I posted the clip. You've probably seen it floating around on social media. Like, that bull rush he had against Josh Ball. Like, I'd like to see him like be a little bit more under control and be able to get that sack. But when you push an NFL offensive tackle to the other side of the center, I'm getting excited, man. I don't care.
Did he make him fall? He fell on the ground too, man. He was like laid out on the ground. I was like, he laid him out, bro.
Is it Tristan Kuna or whatever? Like he said the ball like tore his groin on that play. Like Ball got injured on that play, which sucks for him. But like when we're talking about Tyree Wilson's power, like damn, man. Like, and he had a couple where you just like you watch him and like, okay, this is why they drafted him. This is why this guy was such a freak. And of course, he's got those 85 or 82-inch arms that he's still figuring out, or 35-inch arms, excuse me, that he's still figuring out how to use and he's still getting more consistent with. Like, if he gets more consistent with his hand placement, with how long those damn arms are and how powerful he is, he can be nasty. But I was really excited with what I watched. Obviously, still has things to work on, but it was fun to watch him just go on onto an NFL field and dominate that level of competition the way he was at Texas Tech. Like, that was fun to watch. That was encouraging. I'm excited to see what he can do this year.
Yeah, and I think you got a point. I think he might play inside because he was lining up at different spots a little bit too. So I think they're gonna move him around a little bit. And I even think maybe in some bear fronts that he might be like the 5 tech or like the 4 tech.
Okay.
Right. Or moving around in there like as in the bear front. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they use him. But I was excited about his performance. It was just good to see. He didn't go out there like get pushed around by a guy. So all right, let's move on to cornerback, which is my most controversial one, in my opinion. This is where I really was in full disagreement on some of these, right? Of course, my big one, Ja'Cory Bennett, Brandon Facyson, Nate Hobbs, David Long, Marcus Peters, and Amik Robinson. Now,
that was the big surprise to me.
They must love Amik. They love him.
I saw Tashawn point out that he's another special teams guy, so I think that's what it was.
Because I went back, I didn't see him on special teams. Is that a thing? I didn't see him.
Really?
No,
I don't know. I should have looked it up. I don't know. Maybe we'll pull it up on PFF or something. But I mean, if he's not, I'm having a hard time wrap my head around how you keep him on the team over a guy like Tyler Hall, who is also taking reps at safety. But yeah, I'm curious.
I think they like his attitude. I think they love his attitude, the way he like approaches the game, the way he think if he gets beat, it doesn't bother him. He's still gonna attack you. He can blitz a little bit. You can blitz him off the edge as a slot. I think they love his demeanor and the way he goes about playing football. I think they love it.
He's the feisty little guy. And that's what McDaniels loves. That's what he's loved in corners since his days with the Broncos. Like, that's all he hasn't drafted a cornerback over 6 feet, I don't think, which was one of the things. Like, he likes those guys, and Corey Bennett's the same way. He's going to come up. He's going to hit you in the mouth. And even though he's 5'11", 5'10", 185 pounds soaking wet, but he's going to fight and he's going to play his ass off. And I will say with Amik, like, I feel like part of it is he did really well with what they asked him to do, which was make spot starts last year when they needed it badly. Yeah. So maybe it's a little bit of rewarding him. But yeah, I'm surprised, especially too, he's in a contract year. And I mean, Tyler Hall, I think he might technically be on a contract year too, but obviously not going to fetch anything of significance on the open market. So
yeah. I think, the big one to me was Duke Shelley over David Long. No, take my bad, the other way. David Long over Duke Shelley.
Yeah, David Long over. Yeah,
I don't understand.
That one doesn't make sense to me. Like David Long this past, David Long, I was really happy with what he did against the Rams. And then he was kind of bad. He's bad against the Cowboys. And I mean, Duke Shelley has much better ball skills than he does. Like Duke Shelley was a PBU monster last year and barely played. But.
And I thought he played well in the preseason. And you always heard good things coming out of camp about him. You heard all these different things. But they keep David Long. Like, I just don't like David Long because, he was out there with the first team defense. And some people, even on Twitter, when I pointed out that he missed a whole assignment, they're like, he's not going to start. He's not going to make the team. He might get cut. And look at him. Now we don't know how hurt Ja'Cory Bennett is, right? So if he is out there week one as a start, I'm going to be a little nervous. He just has never played well in the NFL, right? And that was weird. So, maybe he's bought in, maybe he's picked up the system, but to me, he hasn't picked up the system because he missed the whole assignment. So, it was just weird. I just don't know what they did with this position, what they're looking at, what they want out of it, but
yeah. By the way, I looked it up. Amik Robertson has 125 special team snaps in his career and then played in 7 games on special teams last year. So he hasn't been that much of a factor on special teams, and he was only on special teams in the Niners game this preseason. So, yeah, a little head scratching, but they're going to do what they're going to do, I guess.
I don't get it at all. I don't get it. I mean, Amik's not bad. See, I want to say Amik is so inconsistent to me because some games he's great.
He's a backup corner. You know what I mean? That's what you kind of come to expect. Like he's gonna make plays. He's gonna make occasional plays, like the return touchdown he had. He had 2 picks last year, which was a third of the Raiders' picks last season, which not great, but he was the only one that could create turnovers. But he's also gonna get beat. He's also gonna miss tackles. He's also gonna have brain farts, like looking over the wrong shoulder on a back shoulder throw. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. See. If Facion is healthy, though, I still think he's the starter on the other side. If he ends up being healthy, by the time we get to week 1, I feel like he'd be the starter. I mean, he was paid the highest. He got injured. He still made the football team. So that kind of says a lot to me. But
yeah, that's what I was going to say. The fact he basically, they put the pads on, he got hurt, and then he didn't practice for the rest of the time and still made the team. That means they like him a lot. The only thing I will say, though, is we talk about that 54 spot. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a guy that goes on IR next week because it's only if I remember correctly, it's still only 4 weeks, right? Or is it 6?
4.
4. So yeah. So if he's only has to be out for a month, and I mean also depending on how bad his injury is, then I have a feeling he's probably going to be start there so that they can save that extra roster spot. That's why they're getting away with the 54 for right now.
Yeah, for sure, dude. All right, so I guess we could do a breakdown on kickers. We got one more position. The lock staffer.
Did we skip line? I think we skipped linebackers.
Oh, linebacker. Yeah. We did skip linebacker. My bad. I forgot.
Our guy didn't make it.
No, he didn't. He didn't because he didn't play special teams like Curtis Bolton. That's really what it was. So
Drake Thomas played special teams.
Did he?
Yeah, he had a couple tackles on special teams.
Oh, really? I didn't see him out there against San Francisco or Los Angeles.
Maybe he only played the one game. All right. God damn it. Now I got to go back on my phone. Look this up.
Yeah. But yeah, so the linebackers, Curtis Bolton, Amari Burney, Divine Diablo, Luke Masterson, Robert Spillane. Now, I'm gonna give Masterson some props. I thought he played pretty well when he played the preseason. I thought he played the run a lot better than he ever did before. I thought he really attacked it, really went after it, really read gaps and was decisive and instinctive. So I don't know. There's something to him. I don't want to get excited about him and feel like I'm kind of hyping him too much, but I thought he had a really good preseason and he looked good in coverage. He looked good against the run. And, it is against backups, but I think there's something there that if somebody gets hurt, that I think that he might be a little bit more of a better depth guy than I'm giving him credit for. But besides that, if these guys get injured at this position, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
It's gonna be rough.
I thought the same thing about Masterson. I thought one of the biggest things that I was really excited about to see him. I can't remember. He might have missed one in the last game, but in the first 2 games of the preseason, no missed tackles. That was probably his biggest issue, honestly, last year. I mean, he wasn't great at taking on blocks against the run, but that was part of the problem is even when he was there, he was missing. So if he can clean that up, I mean, I think he can definitely become maybe that third linebacker in that group, especially if Curtis Bolton is going to be just the primarily special teamer. But yeah, I was really encouraged with what I saw from Masterson. I thought I feel like him and Darian Butler were two guys that were always going to get kind of compared to each other because they're both undrafted free agents and kind of clinged on to roster spots last year and we're in a battle this year. I thought even before Butler's injury, I felt pretty confident that Masterson was ahead of him and he's kind of taken that step forward. So like to have seen from him. But and by the way, I looked it up. Drake Thomas played 11, 12, and 13 special team snaps in the last in each of the preseason games. So he played more every week and still didn't make the team, which, I mean, I'll tell you, one guy that I'm shocked that made the team out of the linebacker group. And I probably shouldn't say shocked because I did think they might keep him with the draft pick invested in him is Amari Burney. Because let me tell you, there were some plays from Amari Burney where I was sitting out there screaming at my computer screen, what the hell are you doing? And not just against the run. Against the run, he was still bad, which I expected him. But he had coverage lapses, wasn't lost. That the touchdown that was against the Rams, that was to the flat, I think they were playing cover 4 or whatever on his side. Oh, yeah, he didn't even move. I'm when Amari Burney made the team because he got drafted. I wholeheartedly believe if the tables were turned and Drake Thomas was drafted and Burney was the undrafted free agent, it would have been a different direction.
I think Amari Burney made the team because Darren Butler got hurt. Because Darren Butler is a special teams guy. And I think that would have made a big factor for him. And I think they went with the draft pick over the undrafted guy, which I don't know. Did any undrafted players make this team? I don't think so.
Well, they had 9 draft picks and they all made the team. So it was you're kind of running out of room for rookies.
Yeah.
So rookies now.
Yeah, man. Yeah. None of the undrafted guys made the team. That's crazy. They just don't like Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick has a history of he's kept 18 years in a row. They're we're not gonna be like Bill anymore. So I mean, they because last year they really basically kept the teams like they did with the Patriots. This year they're totally different. 6 wide receivers, 4 running backs. It's not anything Patriots anymore. We're the Raiders way now, Matt. We're Raiders way over here. Any last thoughts on linebacker?
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I'll believe it when they stop bringing in ex-Patriots, but
okay. All right. I'll speak on. I mean, Spillane had a good preseason. I thought we came out there. You look a little better in coverage, but that's always his knock. We'll see how that goes. So, and then of course Divine Diablo, he's got to take the next step as a linebacker here. All right. Yeah. So safeties, they kept 4. Roderick Special Teamer, made the team. They kept 5. They did. I cannot count, man. What the hell is going on today?
You got to take your socks off, bro. Count them toes.
I guess so, bro. I don't know. I can't count worth of shit today. So 5 safeties, which interesting again. They kept 5 safeties. And of course, Roderick Teamer, special teams. Chris Smith made the team, of course. And then, of course, 2 starting safeties. Marcus Epps and Trayvon Moehrig are the 2 starting safeties. And, of course, Isaiah Palomau, who is the special teams gunner as well. So Teamer and Palomau are the gunners. So they were going to make the football team. Chris Smith, I think he played well. You have to watch the film to see how well he kind of played. He can't tackle, though, which I think is little bit scary. He just refuses to tackle. I know you pointed it out in the breakdown, but I watched the Cowboys game. He just had some you got to come on.
Did he have another one against? I didn't watch him against the Cowboys. Did he have? He struggled. He have a miss again.
Yeah. Like it's like he doesn't want to tackle. He just wants to pick the ball off.
Yep. Yeah. That makes sense. Going back to the Rams game where like he's like kind of like pulled up when he goes to go hit the tight end. Like not a guy that exactly seems to like contact right now.
Interceptions is his thing. He likes interceptions. He likes catching the football, and he looks good doing that. It's just when he has to come downhill and like make a tackle, it's like, oh, come on, Chris, get some more physicality there. But I think Morag. We'll see how they play Morag this year. I think they asked him to do a lot last season, and I don't know if he was ready for that. A lot. They put a lot on his plate. Marcus Epps, I think he's gonna be a sound player, really solid guy. He's gonna do his thing. Palomau, he didn't play really well in coverage. One-on-one, he got beat a lot. I feel like he only has a one type of role thing, but he's a special teams guy. He's the gunner. He's on every special teams too. He's kickoff, punt return, punt block, whatever. He is that type of player that he's going to be everywhere doing that. And same thing with Roger Teamer. So the safety group isn't that bad. I feel like, if they have some injuries, they might be okay. I feel like Roger Teamer, he's played better every year because he's still a young player. He's only 26. So I thought he played pretty well in the preseason. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Teamer, I kind of lumped him with Bolton a little bit as like, the typical special team type of guys, but like that actually showed out pretty well on defense. Like he was kind of the same thing. Like, I mean, not afraid to come up and hit people. So maybe he'll have a little bit of expanded role on this team this year. I feel like Palomau, they want him to be that tight end eraser, but he's just not there yet. Maybe he'll get there at some point, but like just hasn't quite clicked for him.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, with the two starters, we'll be interested to see how they use him. Because the one thing I do like about Marcus Epps is he's got like that like strong safety mindset where like he's physical, come up and hit you, but he also has more experience playing free. So I don't know. Yeah. Be interested to see how they want to deploy him, and if they're going to try and make Merrick as versatile as they did last season too. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be because I see somebody asked, do you think he will do better against Kelsey? And I actually think he did pretty decent against Kelsey that game. All his plays were in the red zone. I mean, he had 7 catches, 25 yards, but he had 4 touchdowns on the red zone. He didn't do good against the red zone. But in between the 20s, I thought Morag did pretty decent in between the 20s. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. There's some elements there of him playing man. I just think that he got hurt last year and his hips couldn't move and he wasn't doing anything like that. So, but I still think there's an element there. I think he had a good rookie season that you could feel like that he could still become a pretty damn good player.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm still up on the Merrick hype train, but yeah, he's obviously got to clean some stuff up. Also had way too many missed tackles last year. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it was up from the year before. So we'll have to wait and see.
All right, man. So let's all the positions. Let's check out some of these questions. Let me to the top here. Let's get see. I got any questions that I could find. I need to start bookmarking these or something. I don't know how to do it. I keep it like. I see a lot of people asking about BD, so I thought I'd talk about that a little bit. BD, he's taking a hiatus. I'm going to say that he's taking a hiatus. I think that BD will be. My personal opinion, I think BD will be back pretty soon, just because I think he's already texting me. So as the season gets closer, his love for football will start to overtake whatever he feels right now. He always gets like he gets like this. He's been like this for like 3 years, guys. I'm gonna tell you the truth. He might be watching this. He might be mad at me, but he's been watching this for like he's been like this every year. So as close as we get to the season, the more film comes out, the more things come out. I could see him kind of maybe, I don't know. We'll see with that. I'll just keep it real with you guys. He's taking a hiatus. He wants to get his things going. Get his life together and stuff like that. So, so yeah. I just want to address that. I gotta go ahead.
And to the people asking where BD is, what am I, chopped liver over here? What the hell, man? Put some respect on my name, guys. Come on. But no, I mean, I love BD. He's my guy. Like you said, I feel like he's too much of a film junkie to like. He's going to be watching. He's going to be sitting there with the all 22. Like he's got to get some things off his chest. I'm sure we'll have him around like at some point during the season. He's going to get the itch back.
Yeah, his itch will. Yeah, I can already feel it, man. I can already tell. He's getting the itch, and I'm sure I'll do like a defensive breakdown. He won't like it, and he'll be back. So.
Here's what we'll do. I'm gonna start talking coverage and just because we know BD's gonna be watching and then he'll come back
on. Exactly. All right. So let's see. Other questions here. So who does this team release? They're at 54 right now. We're thinking what Faison probably gets hurt, right? So that's probably it.
Yeah, I think Faison goes on IR because this way, to explain it to people. If he had gotten put in IR before making the team, he wouldn't be eligible to play for the Raiders this year. If he makes the team and then gets put on IR literally the next day, then he just has to sit out the 4 weeks. The only reason why I know that is that's how I ended up with a Nathan Peterman jersey. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so is Palomar going to play a hybrid role or a tweener? I think he's going to play like dime linebacker when they want to go 3 safeties. That's what I think they're going to do with Palomar. I just don't think he can't. You kind of saw why he was undrafted a little bit when he went through the tape, right? So it was kind of interesting to kind of see how he looked in coverage, and I was like, ooh, he can't really play man. So there's a little athleticism issues there, and I'm a big Palomar fan. He went to my high school. I'm a big fan of his, just naturally that way. But just things are true. He's kind of a little bit not athletic enough to maybe be a dominant safety. He's got to kind of depend on his intelligence and what he can do. But I think there's some good things that he can do there for sure.
And to your point too, the way he like thrives in man is like he's athletic enough to stay in coverage with tight ends, but when they start getting physical, he's also like 205 and 6'4", like 205. So he's a rail. So as soon as they start getting into his body, like he just doesn't have enough to fight back, and like he's gonna get pushed around. Like that was the one thing I noticed about him is like he's athletic enough to stay in phase when tight ends are trying to work at their routes, but as soon as they'd start using the flipper and getting into him at the top of the routes, like he was kind of screwed.
Exactly. I like this question. So thoughts on cutting Butler, because we didn't talk about them cutting Matthew Butler. We haven't talked about that. And Farrell after just 1 year. Bad sign for Ziegler or good that we're willing to cut them quickly? What are your thoughts there, Matt?
I mean, I definitely don't think it's a good sign. Like the fact that they're like getting rid of guys. Well, Neil Farrell, I guess he was their third because of Zamir, but Neil Farrell was a 4th round pick in a draft class where they didn't have one until the 3rd round. And like I said, they gave him up for a 6th round pick to a rival. That's essentially cutting him. So I don't think it's like a good sign. With Matthew Butler, I mean, he was a 5th round pick. Like it's not like he was like a high draft pick, so I don't think it's a terrible sign. And I think they're probably trying to bring him back on the practice squad because he was always kind of a developmental project, and that's what you think we saw a little bit last year. But not exactly a ringing endorsement for their draft class. The fact that this is already starting to look like their 2022 class is already starting to look like a Gruden Mayhawk class where everyone's gone almost a year later. But I don't think it's like anything too big. I mean, if you want to look at it this way, all 9 guys they drafted this year made the team. So.
Positivity. To be fair, I'll be fair. I mean, they didn't have a 1st and 2nd round pick last year, right? So they started with the 3rd round, 4th round guy not making it is you could feel down about that, but it's just not the same as let's say they traded a 2nd round guy they drafted last year. Then we would be like, oh, what the hell is happening, right? So a 4th round guy is not that crazy. They obviously felt something about him. I think Matthew Butler didn't do anything in preseason. I mean, I don't think he made 1 play or got 1 pressure that I saw. So It was an easy cut for me. I was expecting him to get cut anyways, but go ahead.
I was just saying, I didn't even think twice when I was putting out my 53 man. Like the only thing that gave me hesitation is the fact that he's young. But then when I looked at everyone else, I'm like, I can't justify it, even over like someone like Nesta, where like at least we heard that Nesta was dominating practice, where it's like we didn't hear really anything about Matthew Butler.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Question I'm thinking. All right, let's finish it off with this question. I like this question. After the second year of 53, do you like the vision of mixed Zeeks, Matt? This is a good question. What do you think?
Do I like the vision of it? I mean, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes what the vision is, but I guess somewhat I'm like liking some of the moves they did. I feel like as much as it makes it frustrating when they get rid of some of the guys, like I do like that they are going after their guys a little bit to a certain extent and kind of like retooling the roster. I just wish they'd done it last year and not this year, in the first year of the rebuild, and tear it down, because that's typically how you'd want to do it. So you don't have to be by yourself, or don't waste a year essentially with last year. But I think let's see a little bit. We'll see how this draft class plays out. I am a little bit more encouraged, especially seeing, a guy like Tyree Wilson play so well last week, that it does seem like they're on a little bit better of a track, but not exactly jumping for joy for him right now.
Yeah, I look at it kind of differently here. I think Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, they have a plan, but I think last year they didn't have too much of a plan. I think they wanted to kind of come in there and thought they would just kind of maximize the guys that were there. And I'd rather they would have just kind of went in there and just got rid of everybody. And I think that would have made me feel a lot better about what their vision is right now, because we're in year 2 and we still don't have a franchise quarterback. And I think when you are rebuilding, that is the first thing you need. That a rebuild, you start with the franchise quarterback. And a lot of teams don't rebuild well without one. The Jags, they went to rebuild. The first thing they got, Trevor Lawrence. The second year, they're in the playoffs. That's how you rebuild. You got to get a franchise quarterback. Maybe in 2021, there wasn't one that they really liked. They didn't like one this year either. So now we're going into year 3. And, I mean, maybe some people are going to try to say Jimmy Garoppolo is. I think he's more of kind of a guy that kind of just a holder until they can feel who can keep them in games and keep their jobs until they find a franchise guy. And we don't have that. So it's just like we're like in a retool kind of slash thing. But I still like Ziegler's draft picks, man. I did at the time. And even though they traded Farrell, those guys that work out, I like those draft picks. I like Wilson. I like Mayer. I like what they did this year. I think Trey Tucker is growing on me as a pick. Didn't like it at the time, but I see the vision now that he's playing. So I kind of like what they're doing, but I think without a franchise quarterback, is kind of just, we're in trouble. Unless Aiden O'Connell just goes off. He's the guy.
I was about to say, man, we're only 3 days out from the preseason. You already forgot about our guy AOC? What the hell?
Unless he's the guy, but we might find that out this year. But then my thing is, if he is the guy, I just hope Raiders fans just understand it, because I don't want to hear you guys turn on him. I just don't want it. We're like 3 years from now when Caleb Williams is balling or something, and and Aiden O'Connell's playing pretty good, but he's just not Caleb Williams or something. I just don't want it. I don't want to hear it. That's my thing. I don't want to hear how you can't move and all that crap people try to bring up. But but Aiden's grown on me a lot, so I feel really comfortable with him actually going out there. And if they have a good game plan, they could Jarrett Stidham him for a while. They could do exactly what they did with Jarrett Stidham. His release is quicker. He's more accurate. He's a lot of things that you could do with him. And even if, like, let's say they play terrible this year and they do lose Josh and Dave Ziegler, I think you could just bring a West Coast guy in there, and then West Coast guy would be like, you know what? I can work with this and just do a bunch of play action, quick releases with Aiden O'Connell. So I think that, it's really kind of a mix in there of, kind of that. They just don't have a franchise quarterback yet for me to feel super comfortable about the future, because we're playing against Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. And, I still think the Chiefs sucked last year. I still think the Chiefs suck now, but they got Patrick Mahomes. So it's just not, I just don't think that's a good team over there. But for some reason, they're 14-3. So, it's going to be, that's where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm missing a little bit. So, but I like the draft picks, though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna like, I'm not gonna like it, but whatever.
And I mean, circling back to or combining the last 2 questions too, like I do think it is kind of nice that like they're not gonna like try and chase something that's not there. Like if they don't think a guy is gonna be able to make it, like Neil Farrell they're not going to sit there and like, oh, we'll just try and work with them, keep trying to develop them and see if and hope and pray that it's going to work. They'll go on and like get rid of a guy, which is the Patriot way, but and hope you just kind of got to hope that Neil Farrell doesn't become a stud over in Kansas City. But like I do respect that, and I think I've always kind of liked that about this regime is like, even though I may not always agree with what they're doing, like they have a plan. Like they're not going to overpay for a free agent just because they need that position or anything like that, which Gruden, impulsive ass Gruden, would do all the freaking time. That's why Kenyon Drake, I guess he's not on the payroll anymore, but you know, that's why you get contracts like Kenyon Drake and all that stuff. So that's the one thing I do like about this regime is like they're not afraid to cut bait. You know what I mean? And they're not going to overpay or they're going to stick to their principles at the very least, which I can respect that at least.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, one thing I did see last comment, and then we'll get out of here because we're like hour 5, bro. Like long ago, fuck, bro. Yeah. But I think that the way Dave Ziegler's handling the cap is kind of something that I would have a knock against them, because I think the little cap management is something you have to learn as a when you become a GM, and I think he's kind of struggling with that a little bit, because I think that's why they're a little bit weaker on defense, because you had the Jimmy Garoppolo problem. He had $23 million on cap room. You can't really sign some of the players you wanted to sign. So yeah, but that would be my other critique of him. But he's not doing bad.
Yeah, no, not a bad start by any means. We'll see how it goes. I mean, who knows? Maybe in December we'll be calling for both their jobs. So
yeah,
go, right?
I know, because that's what we say. The team plays bad. Well, Mark Davis. A lot of people act like Mark Davis is patient, but the only person he's ever been patient with was John Gruden. So I don't know why people act like he's patient. He's impulsive as hell. So we'll all it takes is one blowout loss, week 15.
I mean, maybe I'm just scarring by Al, but I feel like Mark's been a little more patient, a little more with
Gruden.
With Gruden, he was, yeah. Gruden was his white buffalo.
He got rid of that real quick.
The way he's talked about what's his name? God, I'm drawing a blank. The way he's talked about McDaniels, like he freaking loves the guy, and even when McDaniels like blowing leads left and right. So I mean, we'll see.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
Del Rio, right. He gave Jack Del Rio an extension and then fired him the next year.
He's impulsive. I'm telling you, he's impulsive. You need some of the things he did with the Aces and some of the players. If you go follow some of the things he did over there, they're winning a lot, and he treats players awesome. If you follow, I follow Isaac Rousseau on TikTok. He treats players terrific, man. They got great food and stuff like that. I mean, Isaac Rousseau made me want to go play with the Raiders. So I think Mark Davis always going to have players coming there. Go ahead.
He fired Lambeer from the Bad Boy Pistons as the Aces head coach, and then hired Becky Hammon, and they won the championship the next year. That's right. I forgot about that.
Impulsive.
Yeah, maybe it's more impulsive than I realized.
As I'm saying, all it takes is one big embarrassing loss like late in the season, and that would be that's all it would take to me. And I think that he would be he's a little impulsive. He's a little bit, just a little bit. All right, guys, we're out of here, man. We're going long. I hope you guys enjoyed this live. We got 300 people today, man. So we pretty damn good live today. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that. Definitely try to do more of these, and have some more interaction here, guys, with you guys. So we really appreciate you. We just passed 9,500 subscribers, so get us up to 10,000. We're so close to getting up there. I see all these other channels just growing past me, and all they do is just kind of like talk crap. So. Maybe get us some people, you know what I'm saying? Share with your friends, let us know, come here. Yeah. Sometimes, we might not have the most, homerish takes in the world, but, we just keep it real over here, guys. So I hope you guys appreciate everything that we do. And let's get ready for the season. We're getting ready for week 1. Here come the damn donkeys, right?
Let's go, baby.
The damn donkeys are coming. So, all right, guys, we appreciate you guys coming. Peace out.